Welcome to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. Brought to you by Contractors Connect, this show dives into real-world issues facing today's builders on and off the job site.
Whether you're swinging a hammer, running a crew, or scaling a business, we've got the insights, stories, and expert tips to help you level up in the building industry.
I'm Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bacher. And together, we'll be talking shop with industry leaders, tradespeople, and innovators who are shaping the future of construction.
Let's get to work. This is Trade Talk. Welcome back to Trade Talk, the podcast where we connect, share, and grow. I'm your host, Sarah.
And I'm Lindsay. And today we are joined by Tipp Spradlin of First Choice Business Brokers of Northwest Florida.
Yes, so Tipp has recently started attending some of our events and sponsoring some things, so we're excited to get to know her. She spent 3 decades in the Air Force, and she just transitioned from being in military leadership to now owning a business brokerage. So she helps businesses find other people who want to buy them.
Yeah. So if you are a business owner who has ever thought about what the end game is going to look like for you, this is your connection. So let's hear what she has to say.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear. Maybe she'll buy our business by the end of the show.
Maybe. We can go have lunch.
All right. Let's jump in. If you're in the construction industry and your marketing feels more like a punch list than a plan, it might be time to call in the pros. At Bespoke Consulting, we help contractors and construction businesses get noticed with branding that builds trust, websites that convert, and marketing strategies that actually move the needle. Want to grow your business without wasting time or money? Start with Bespoke. Learn more at bespokeconsulting.com. Hi, Tipp. Thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to get to know you more and learn more about what it is you do. So I know you spent a long time in the military. So how did you make the transition from military leadership roles into having a business brokerage?
Yeah, it's I've had very much a choose your own adventure type of life and career, which I think is great. But my partner has been in the sales and outdoor sales and brokerage for a while with billboards.
Okay.
And so it was kind of a natural segue from what I did in the military. So I did a lot of contracting, IT, communications, acquisitions, project management. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was going to be a harder transition, but actually it's been a lot of fun. And then what I've learned over there, too, it's just learning different acronyms, but it's all paperwork and processes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for people that might not be familiar, what exactly does a business broker do?
So I get asked that a lot. And usually people are like, I'll say, hey, I'm a business broker. They're like, oh, yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And it's the easiest way to think of it is that we're a real estate agent that sells businesses. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing somebody asks is, oh, you sell commercial property. I'm like, not really. Mm-hmm. Usually the only time we'll deal with commercial properties if it's being conveyed with the business. Mm-hmm. We're talking the LLC, the corporation, the book of business is what we do. So we try to find sellers ahead of time. We get them on the market and list, and then we do the whole buyer side as well.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So what was kind of the moment that you realized this might be something you wanted to do?
It took a little convincing from my partner because I was kind of like, I don't want to do that. I'm not good at sales. I don't want to do anything like that. And she was like, don't be stupid. You talk a lot. You get excited about, again, contracts.
Right, which is a big part of it.
And processes. And she's like, you sell already in the military. It's just not monetized. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was like, I do. And it was all about networking and bringing teams together and finding solutions for folks. And once it was kind of worded that way, then I was like, that does sound kind of fun. Yeah. And that's kind of how I slowly started learning about the career field. We worked with a company up north for their exit to get on the market before we were brokers. And that's when I was like, now this is fun.
Yeah.
We get to get into somebody's organization, like where are the pain points, what can we solve, what other expert can we bring in?
Right.
And working with them for about a year, helping them get on the market was where I was really solidified, like I want to do this.
So is that something your company still does, or do you just handle the transaction?
Right now we just do the transaction. So we do have a really robust network of like other professionals. One of my favorites is a professional employer organization, a PEO. They're somebody that we bring in often because, again, we're not HR professionals, we're not accountants, we're not lawyers. So I like to think of it as a NASCAR pit boss. Mm-hmm. The car comes in and everybody's like,
Yeah.
And, we find whatever professional is going to help that particular business get them ready to get on the market when they're ready.
Cool.
What kind of businesses do you typically see, or is it, you can represent anybody?
We like to be a general brokerage. So there are some brokerages that will find like one specific industry, and that works for their model. But we kind of want to be the general brokerage because we want to essentially provide that service to the small business community in our community and not leave anybody out. Right. So we definitely like the trades. Trades are very reliable. Mainly because AI can't fix your toilet, right? AI cannot do your drywall and stuff. So it's very reliable, the trades, but we don't just focus on the trades. We do see a lot of definitely mom and pops, but we're about to list a plumbing electrical company soon, but then there's a pool service all the way to a medical clinic.
Yeah.
We've worked with property management, bookkeeping, and every now and then we'll get some restaurants that reach out to us.
Nice. So what's the process like that somebody comes to you and says, I want to sell my business? What does that look like?
It's a little bit of a process. And the first thing we say, like we'll sit down and do like an initial discussion with them because sometimes sellers will have some type of emotional moment.
Right.
A bad customer or client interaction or...
And they say, I'm throwing in the towel.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And so we try to see if it's one of those moments or are you actually ready to do that? And then we explain to them too, it's we're going to look at your financials first. So what we call it a market price analysis. In the industry, most people just say valuation, but there are slight legal differences in what they mean. But with our market price analysis comes a valuation, and that's where we really just sit down and talk with them. First, are they ready? And then through just a series of questions, kind of like some of the questions you're asking me, we can determine if we need to bring in somebody to help with their organization. Is the owner a point of failure? We don't ask, hey, are you a point of failure?
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that. But you can kind of tell, and then we'll say, let's just start with your financials. And then once we do our analysis, we bring them back in and we do our presentation. Does this number look good for you? This is what the strategy would look like. And then it comes down to if they want to press forward and then when, and then we go into the other part of the process. So about 80% of what we do is before they're even listed.
So that's interesting because I can't imagine, especially with a lot of mom and pop kinds of businesses, that there probably is a lot of emotion involved in it. And I'm sure that there are owners who feel like their business is worth more than you think it is worth. Does that happen often?
Yes. And so you said the word think.
Yeah.
And that's a telling word. When you hear think, want, or feel, that's where we're like, we're not dealing with facts at this moment. So we try to loop them back into, let's see what the numbers say. Because I can't sell the potential of your business until the numbers make sense for a buyer. If the numbers don't make sense for the seller to put on the market, then we stop and we say, okay, who do you need to talk to get to meet your goal? So that's one aspect. But if it does make sense, it's a number that we can defend before a buyer, bank, and a judge. Because we're looking at comparables. We're looking at SBA numbers. We're looking at all of that. And then a lot of times we'll get the business pre-qualified either through SBA, which is kind of like, I don't want to say the gold standard, but that's where if you're looking at somebody coming from scratch trying to buy a business, they would typically use the SBA. So if it can't, I don't want to say can't, if it's not able to get SBA pre-qualified, then we will look at a traditional lender. Either way, we try to get that business pre-qualified before it even goes in the market. That way it helps us first manage expectations with the seller.
Absolutely.
But also say this is the type of buyer, this is what the buyer's going to need to bring to the table. This is, not
There's
just
no
money down.
surprises.
There's no surprises. Not just money down, but they may, if it's an owner-operator, they're going to have industry experience. So that's going to be common where somebody's like, I just really want to own a restaurant. Have you ever worked in a restaurant? Did you ever bust tables? Do you know what restaurant culture is like? Because I know I don't. I survived 2 days as a cocktail waitress in the 90s, and I was like, I'm done. So we try to take it away from the think, want, and feel and show the facts. We don't even ask them, what do you think your business is worth? Or what do you want out of it?
I'm sure they tell you.
Sometimes you'd be surprised. Sometimes they'll say it and you're like, it comes back to, let's just see what the numbers say, because we can't put it on the market when it's overvalued that we can't defend because it will die in due diligence. So let's not waste anybody's time, including theirs, putting it on the market before it's actually ready to go.
And so how often is it that people go through that process and then they move forward with the sale? Is that most of them, or?
It is not most of them. It's not most of them because sometimes it's the sticker shock of they had a number in mind, but they're not quite there yet. But then that's what we actually kind of like to talk to them early and often. So 2 to 5 years before they're actually thinking about it is like that magic spot. But to me, it's like even before then. So I also volunteer at a Boots to Business course that they offer from the military. They're transitioning out of the military, whether retirement or whatever, and they're looking at entrepreneurship. So I'll do like a little, presentation, but it's like 3 years into your new business, get a valuation done from a broker, because that broker, that whole process, they're going to tell you if you're on the right track, what you need to do to keep growing. And then I would recommend check in every handful of years, because you're introducing a check and balance system that most mom and pops don't have.
Yeah.
They don't have an internal inspection cycle.
Right.
And so that it kind of acts as that. But every 5 years until you're ready to retire, and then the closer you get to that sell moment, a year before, 2 years before, just keep doing it. And they'll let you know, the broker will let you know where if you're on track and what that number looks like for you.
Interesting.
Looking to make powerful connections without another boring networking event? Join us for Contractors Courtside Connections, where business meets the court. Friday, June 12th at Coastal Elite Sports in Freeport. Grab a paddle, meet top professionals, and build real relationships in a fun, relaxed environment. Whether you're playing or just connecting, this is networking done differently. Vendor tables are available, but spots are limited. Don't miss it. Courtside Connections, where connections are made in motion. Yeah. So you talk a lot about thinking like a buyer early. What exactly do you mean by that?
Thinking like a buyer. So if your business is trending down, your net profits is trending down.
That's terrible.
Well, it's not terrible, but it's managing expectations, right? Because it could be for a variety of reasons, right? You have like aging owners, or, the cost of goods have gone up. If you can explain it, that's one thing, right? But if you think, like you just said, that's terrible, that's what a buyer's going to think. The buyer's going to think, well, what's wrong with it?
Right.
Right? If you're trending flat or trending up, everybody's like, ooh, this is good. They don't want to buy a problem. They don't want to buy something to fix.
Yeah.
Right.
So thinking like a buyer is, how would you look at your business? Take away the emotion aspect of it and go, if you're trending down, now you're on the defensive. So, but again, it goes back to what are the reasons why? Because a lot of buyers actually want that magic reason, like, they want that one reason that they can overlook because they're excited about the business. But if you cannot explain that, and the owner is just tired and they just I don't even want to say they let the business, slowly decline. A lot of it is they're so successful that they're just tired and they don't need extra business.
Right.
So they start turning away business. Like, I don't need the business.
Right.
Like, that shows something different though in the numbers.
Yes.
So talking to them earlier and saying, hey, if you get it flat or getting trending back up, then you're going to get top dollar for it.
That's interesting what you just said about owners just starting to cut back on work because they don't feel like they need as much, or they're retiring, moving that direction. Is that one of the biggest mistakes that you see that owners make, is if they want to sell their business?
I would say if they want a higher number, and again, it's hard to say if it's a mistake, because if it's a lifestyle choice for them, and they're just doing that work-life balance, so I don't know if I would call it a mistake. It goes back into managing their expectations. It's about what the numbers can show. Everything comes to light during due diligence. And if a buyer has full cash, then they're savvy. They know what they're looking for. They know what they're doing. If somebody needs a loan, the bank is going to be crawling into that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why talking to them, sooner than they're ready is always going to be the thing. Like, hey, try to get your numbers back up. At least 2 to 3 years, let's start trending back up. And you go into, you're going to get a premium for it versus you listed it on Facebook Marketplace type of offers.
Oh, people do that?
Well, so some people will put their business on Facebook, and you're like, you're never going to get, you're just going to get it. Is it available? Is it available?
Yeah,
Is it available?
yeah.
So.
Besides the obvious, revenue aspect of why you would want to purchase a business, what are some other things that make a business valuable in the eyes of a buyer?
A strong administrative foundation.
Okay.
HR compliance. So going back to making sure you bring in a PEO. A lot of folks, especially in the trades, it's more common in the trades than other ones, is that they'll have a 1099 contract employee, but they're actually being treated as a W-2. Everything comes to light during due diligence. And if that person should be classified as a W-2, and it's shown through due diligence, that's going to change that valuation, right? But a good broker is going to make sure they're going to look at that before you're even on the market. And so again, we try to slow some stuff down first, going, if you go to market right now, this is what's going to happen, and it can die at due diligence. So I was looking at some statistics, and there was a very uncomfortable one. Actually, there's two of them. 70 to 80% of businesses listed don't get the closing, and 1 out of 2 fail after an offer's been accepted.
Wow.
And what that tells me is that it died in due diligence.
Yeah.
Something happened that, caught somebody off guard, spooked the buyer, and then it was done. And that's what that tells me. So 1 out of every 2, that's an uncomfortable number.
Yeah. Dive into that a little more, though. What do you mean by they discover a 1099 should have been a W-2?
So a W-2, like a 1099, it's going to be like performance-based. Like, here's the contract. This is the products that we want and everything like that. But you can't dictate when they show up for work. You can't dictate if they go to a networking event. You can't say, these are your hours and here's a schedule that I gave you. That is more W-2.
Right.
So if somebody is on a 1099, but the operations manager or the owner is saying, here's how you're going to do your day,
Right.
that starts to get a little iffy.
Right.
And you're like, oh, wait, hold on, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's bring in a PEO if you haven't had one. Look at this stuff, and then let's get those facts first. And then if you have to go through a couple tax cycles or a couple more years to kind of show that everything's fine as a W-2 employee versus contract, then that's a better time to do the valuation. That'll show the true market value. Because if not, it could be halted at closing, and then we'll have to go back and rework numbers. Not only that, now somebody who's very comfortable being a 1099 for whatever purposes is being,
Yes, you got to make sure you have the right
Now
person, and yeah.
now your employees might be like, I don't want to work here anymore.
Right.
And then it just
there's no value.
snowballs.
Yeah. Interesting. What are there any other red flags that buyers are concerned about?
The owners are too involved in the day-to-day, so point of failure, and I got to find a better way to say point of failure because it's like a military term, but they are too dependent on the owner. So if the owner can't go on vacation.
Right. Yeah.
If the owner is putting in a substantial amount of hours and they don't have trained their replacement. So, having a general manager or operations manager that is not the owner is something that a lot of them have to do in prep to get them on the market in a couple years.
Okay.
And I would think documentation is kind of a part of that too, of people who just know things, but it's not documented anywhere.
Standard operating procedures, their internal policies, and that's what I meant, like the administrative foundation. It's just your book of business. It's not just your client list. It's how can it run if somebody had to sit down brand new and start flipping through a book.
Right.
That's a big one. Clean finances is always, I would say 9 out of 10 times the finances are,
A lot of small businesses don't do things the right way.
Well, it's one of those where like you have $100,000 in a miscellaneous category. Like what is in there? Where is that money going? So that's what we do as a broker. Like that's why we do the financial piece before a listing agreement sign. Is like let's dig into that. And a lot of times we'll say we're happy to speak directly with your bookkeeper and accountant. Business owners are busy running the business,
right?
So we'll work directly with those professionals to kind of dial in, but. If the small business is running a lot of personal stuff through their finances, then we have to pull those out. Source documentation, we would love to take your word for it, but the buyer and the bank won't.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're running your life insurance through your business, which is not an uncommon thing, just let us, like, where is it coming from? So I would definitely recommend folks getting with a bookkeeper and accountant to really dial in itemizing anything personal. So.
Yes. And just keep them separate.
Or keep them separate. Yeah.
I think you've kind of answered the question, but I was going to ask if somebody that's listening right now is interested in selling in 3 to 5 years, what's kind of the first thing you would tell them to do?
Talk to me. Like, I mean, I can go on for a whole hour about that, but it's just call a broker and start that process, because through that process, that stuff is going to slowly, become known. But having your finances ready is the number one. That's the only thing that slows us down. So I talk to a lot of owners. I said, I can go as fast as you can get me the information, but it is your business and it's your timeline.
Right.
So the most I'm going to do is I'm going to send you friendly nudge emails. I'm not rushing you, but I can only go as fast as I get the documents. So if they're looking at it now, it's starting to get their finances together. So 3 years profit and loss statements, 3 years tax returns, and the last 12-month trailing balance sheet are the documents that we would be looking at immediately. The sooner that a broker gets those, we can start, going back in there, like, what is in that miscellaneous category? What does that mean? And then we can add those things back. So a good rule of thumb is for every $1 we can add back to your net profit equals about 2 to 3 on your sales.
Okay.
Very much a rule of thumb, but Just recently, somebody had about 17,000, and we were able to show that it was a very one-time, one-off expense or personal expense that added another 50 grand on top of the market price. So like, it's a big deal to get those finances in order.
Right. So on the flip side, if somebody's looking to buy a business, what can they do to work with you and help find the kind of business they want?
With them, it's proof of funds. So one of the things that we do is when we do have a business, we vet the buyers pretty strongly. So they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. They have to show us proof of funds before they see any of the business and stuff. So buyers, we get a lot of tire kickers. A lot of people just, like it was Saturday night, 10 o'clock. They're like, that looks fun. I want to buy that.
Yeah.
And but having their proof of funds ready. So, I think a good rule of thumb is 25% that you can show.
Okay.
If they have 25% of what they're kind of looking for, that would be the minimum that we'd see. So making sure that they can show that. But then also doing more research. Everything is research. So again, if you've never been in the restaurant world, even if you have money, it's not really, maybe the word's like ethical to try to sell you a restaurant business because you could potentially drive it to the ground in your best intentions.
Right.
Right. So it's doing a lot of that type of research about what they're actually looking for and then kind of help guiding them that way. But the biggest one is making sure that their finances are in order.
Right.
And then understanding the new SBA rules, there's quite a bit of changes that have happened and they may need more than 25% for collateral.
Okay.
So working with a lender sooner.
You're saying kicking the tires made me think about Ina Garten. I just listened to her memoir, and she talks about how she was just looking at the newspaper one day, and she would just look through the businesses for sale in the New York Times, I think it was, and she saw the Barefoot Contessa for sale, and she was in government and had nothing to do with the food industry, and she was like, I just want to go out there and do this. I'm tired of my job, and it worked out. But that's a odd story probably in the vast majority.
Yeah. I mean, it could work out.
Yeah.
It could work out. It just depends.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people hate that answer that it depends, but it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on what they're bringing to the table. If that restaurant had a really strong manager in place and all that.
Right. And it did. Yeah.
But if they needed to be the manager, then it would come into place.
Yeah.
There's so many ways it can go with each transaction.
Right.
So when you're representing somebody that is selling their business, does their business then go onto like a website? Like how does that work where people are finding?
She does have a website because I started looking at it and I was like, do I want to buy any of these businesses?
So the fact that you actually asked that question means people are doing it right.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of it is confidential. Biz Buy Sell would be the most common one. We do have our listings on our website, but they're listed on multiple sites.
Okay.
And Biz Buy Sell, again, being one of the ones that most people are used to, but there's many other sites. There's even another site, and the name's completely escaping me too, but it is where you've got more serious buyers, but they're looking at very specific industries with very specific, revenue and stuff like that. And that is a whole different, ball game. But there are many, many sites, but most people start with Biz Buy Sell on that. But serious buyers are not on Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
They're not on Craigslist.
Right.
And one of the things that we see is that a lot of traditional real estate agents that sell homes and commercial property will dabble in business brokerage.
Oh, really?
And I have seen a business for sale on realtor.com. People are going there to look at houses,
Yeah.
not businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
And then at that point, they lost full confidentiality because they listed it too publicly. So we've seen that as well.
Right.
But that's where there are. There are sites out there. It's just the serious buyers start to get into there, but almost all of them start with like Biz Buy Sell.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so we are going to do a quick rapid fire round. We're just going to
We get water first.
Yeah, take a sip. We're just going to say some things, and you're going to give us your hot takes.
Hot takes. Okay.
Okay. So, biggest myth about selling a business.
That it's easy.
One thing every owner should track, but usually don't.
Personal expenses. 100%.
Okay, is it better to buy or build a business?
Depends. Depends on how much money you have on the table and how much gas you got in the tank. Because building a business is a lot of hustle and grind. Buying a business is easier up front, but you still have to know what you're doing so you don't run it into the ground.
Right.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Slow down. Do it right or do it twice.
All right. Well, I learned a lot, and I didn't know that you should get your business evaluated every 3 to 5 years, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, like you know how much your house is worth.
Right.
Would you do anything to devalue your house?
Right.
And if you don't know what your business is worth, how do you know the decisions you're making are making it go up or down?
Yes.
Sometimes you're just taking out a loan and you're building a bigger hamster wheel.
Right.
So that's why it's always good to know.
Absolutely. So tell everybody how they can find you and set up a time to meet with you.
My email. So hopefully you'll have that in the comments, but tip.spradlin@fcbb.com. In there, I have, where you can book a calendar. You can just send me an email or you can just give me a phone call, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. And Tip's been coming to our event, so you might just run into her there too.
Yes. And please feel free to ask me any questions. I actually do talk quite a bit, and I love answering people's questions.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Want to grow your network and your business? Join Contractors Connect, the go-to networking group for professionals in the building industry. For just $400 a year, members get 4 complimentary meetup tickets per year, a featured spot in our online directory, visibility at every Contractors Connect event, and more. Whether you're a contractor, vendor, or service pro, there's a place for you here. Join today at contractors-connect.com/memberships, and let's build something great together.
All right, now it's time for Voices from the Booth. So this week we have some clips from our Meet the Trades event. That was the first time we've done an event like that. We did it at the Destin Community Center, and we had a bunch of vendors come out and businesses come out, and so let's see what they had to say.
Hi everyone, I'm Kylie Thomas with 850 Title. We are your trusted title partners here on the Emerald Coast.
Hey, I'm Kenny Nicholson with Builders First Source. I'm here with Gulf Armor, our custom wood door product that we build right here in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Everything has a Florida product approval number. Our motto is, if you can dream it, we can build it. So come see us.
Hey guys, I'm Kyle Sparks with Ovation Painting. We're a painting company based out of Destin, Florida. We do interiors, exteriors, residential, commercial. We also do new construction and repaint. So we'd love to earn your business. Give us a call at 850-830-9668, and our website's ovationpainting.com.
I'm Alan Baggett. I'm with Centennial Bank. I'm the business development director. And really, anything you need from new construction, loans, commercial, banking, we're a full-service bank. And we are the best bank in Okaloosa and Walton County.
Hi, I'm Alex Medina with Unlimited Services of the Emerald Coast, and we are your go-to for flooring, design, remodeling, anything you need, give us a call.
Quick break to tell you about Blueprint, the luxury annual guide to remodeling, construction, and design for the Emerald Coast. Blueprint helps your business get in front of homeowners who are actively planning high-end projects. Through a beautifully curated print publication plus digital and social exposure. If you want your brand seen by homeowners before they choose a builder, designer, or trade partner, now's the time. Ad space is limited and the deadline to reserve is May 1st. Learn more at contractors-connect.com/blueprint.
That was such a great conversation with Tip.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest takeaways, and we heard this from her, but we've heard it from other people too, and that is to really start thinking about your exit strategy early on.
Yeah.
And building in a way that is something that you're making that other people would want to invest in.
Yeah. Even if it's not coming for you anytime soon, it's just a good mindset to have and to kind of give you a base on how to build your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning into Trade Talk, powered by Contractors Connect, where construction pros connect, share, and grow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew.
Until next time,
Stay sharp,
stay safe,
and keep building.